Promotional and material support for this program is provided by the Merchant of Vino, Whole Foods Market in Troy.
Hello, welcome to Cooking for Candlelight. I'm Jay Wencoat, coming to you once again from Community Media Network's Studio G. And I've got a really interesting meal planned for you this evening. We're going to be cooking a festive holiday meal on the heels of our festive Sweetest Day meal back in October. Now we're going into November, and it's, of course, Thanksgiving time. So why not make it a festive holiday meal with all the autumnal amenities that you'd expect? So that means, indeed, we'll be doing something in the poultry family. We don't have an oven big enough to contain a turkey, obviously, so we're going to downsize those turkeys with our little shrinking poultry shrinker, and we'll make them Cornish game hens. In fact, they'll be roasted, miso, mustard, butter, roasted Cornish game hens. What is a Cornish game hen? Well, it's a small critter. It's about 1.5 pounds. They're pretty young hens. They're really only about 4 to 6 weeks old. And they are a crossbreed, actually, of a Plymouth Rock hen and a Cornish gamecock. That's how you get a Cornish game hen. And these are some really delicious ones. We're going to treat them with a special butter, and why don't we start that? That is the theme for this evening, is seasoned butters or flavored butters. So we'll take the first few minutes and prepare our roasting butter. We've got 2 half sticks, which actually amount to 1 8-ounce stick of butter, 8 tablespoons. Will be the quantity that we'll start with here, and try to get it nice and softened so that it's easy to mix up. We're going to mix a few different flavors and ingredients into this. Really unique stuff. I don't know that well, I know certainly I've never made it before, and maybe it's something new for you. It's a miso ginger mustard butter. Anyways, we'll start with the stick of butter. We'll add 2 tablespoons of Dijon flavored mustard. I'm using a teaspoon, so pay no attention to how many scoops I take. Just keep it on your recipe that you'll be wanting 2 tablespoons. I've eyeballed these before, so I have an idea of what 2 tablespoons looks like. That's about it right there. We will add 2 tablespoons of miso. And this is a white miso. There are 2 different kinds of miso typically. I just learned this. I'm not an expert on miso whatsoever, but miso is made from fermented soybeans combined with some other ingredients. In this case, it's the fermentation is added to it is a fermented type of organic bacterial culture. It's good for your digestion. It's very good to use for soup bases, for sauces, dressings, and in this case for our flavored butter. 2 tablespoons will be just about right. It's a real thick paste. This one is lighter than the other variety of miso, which they call a dark, or basically the difference is that it's aged for a longer period of time. This miso is aged for about 3 months, I guess. And it doesn't have quite the saltiness that an older miso, and they can age up to several years, apparently. We'll go ahead there and add to the miso a couple of tablespoons a tablespoon of minced garlic and a tablespoon of minced ginger root. These are fresh, of course. The garlic you've seen me chop before. I don't have to do that for you. But the minced ginger I did as well. But I'll give you a little tip. If you're going to make some minced ginger, one thing that might be a little easier for you is to freeze it for a little while. It tends to be easier to chop into small pieces if you're going to freeze it first. Makes it firmer. Otherwise, it's because it's a little stringy. And you might have a difficult time chopping a fresh piece of ginger root that is not hard, or at least very fresh. This happened to be a very fresh piece, so I didn't have to freeze it. And let's see what else we need here. We need some lemon juice. I'll pick right into my basket of ingredients over here. Grab a lemon. And once again, we're looking for, not too much. We're probably looking for a tablespoon of lemon juice. I'll just squeeze off a little bit here in this teaspoon once again. And we'll take Just enough to give it a little zap. There we go. And one last thing is about a half teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Yeah, you don't want to overdo it on the cayenne pepper. I'll just shake it in my hand here, gather out about a half teaspoon, and toss that in. Okay, now comes the mixing part. If you have a larger bowl than this, it might be helpful. Just work it in there, and once you've got it all mixed up, what you'll end up doing is massaging your Cornish hen with this ingredient. And it really is going to act as a moisturizing and flavor-enhancing ingredient. Really unusual combination of spices. I've never had it before. I just tried it last night. It tastes very good. And part of the recipe, which, by the way, you can find in the Flavors magazine that the Whole Foods Market puts out, this particular recipe was featured in that magazine, the fall-winter issue. One of the things it suggests is that you massage after you put this butter, this flavored butter on the hens, or in their case it's a chicken, but on the poultry, you go ahead and return to the bird while it's cooking and either baste it or try to spread some more on throughout the cooking process. That continues to add more flavor. And eventually, you will just assault these little birds into submission with one tasty final entree. So that's what we're looking for, one real tasty entree. And we'll be moving into some other things once we have gotten past the placing of the poultry into the oven. So here's your Cornish game hen. Tender little hen. This is not a pretty sight. Now don't be alarmed by what this looks like, but I'll tell you this much. It's important to make sure that your hen is dry as possible, because when you go to put the butter on it, if it's not dry, it's going to slide all over the place. We'll just take our hands here and just smear a whole bunch of it right on there and try to rub it right on the skin. One trick you might want to use is put a slit in the top of the breast. We're actually going to put some of this right into the chest cavity. We'll take a knife. We'll slit the skin right up in the top, right in the breast, and try to slip some underneath that breast skin, so that way it has a little bit more time to settle into the bird without just melting right off. I didn't quite get that slit where I wanted it. There we go. Open it right up. It's not easy to work with this stuff. It sticks to your hands. It's not pretty, but I guarantee you it'll come out tasting just right. Another thing we can do to keep the moisture, and typically game hens don't have a problem remaining moist because they're just a real rich bird, and the fact that you don't cook them very long, they don't tend to dry out quite like a chicken or a turkey would. Just put a piece of let's put a piece of onion right into the cavity there. If you can see that, we'll just pop that right in. Okay. We'll add a little bit of paprika on the top of that, maybe, to dress it up. You'll have to excuse me, my hands are not, like I said, this is not a clean job. We'll take the paprika, sprinkle a little bit on top of that, just to dress it up a little bit. There we go. And we'll pop it in the roaster. While we're taking a break, I'll dress up the other one, and I will put it in the oven with this partner here, and we'll start them cooking off. They'll probably take about an hour or 45 minutes at 375 for about 375 in this particular toaster oven, which has been preheated. And I assure you, once we come back, two will be in the oven for our crew who is hungry, and we'll move on to the next part of the meal right after this break.
Ready?
Hey, welcome back to Cooking for Candlelight. I'm Jay Wenko. I hope you had a chance to copy down the recipe for this meal tonight. If you didn't, you can always stop by here at the office, Community Media Network, or the Whole Foods Market and pick up the recipe at either place. Also, on the backside of that recipe card will be an entry form that you can fill out and continue to enter in the Cooking for Candlelight Personal Chef Sweepstakes, which is now into its third and final month, November. And we'd like to announce our winner from the second month a little bit later in the show, and also give our third secret clue ingredient later in the show. You'll have to stick around for that. But right now we're into the second phase of our cooking, and that is our vegetable. We're going to go into the root family and talk about sweet potatoes. What a great vegetable this is. It's high in beta-carotene, which of course is transformed into vitamin A in the body, which is a great diligent soldier against fighting free radicals in your system. And that's, of course, some of the things that are suspected of causing some of the maladies like cancer or other health distresses. So what we're going to use is our pressure cooker, which will expedite the process. We've cut these up into relatively small pieces, and we'll go ahead and drop it in there. One of the things that is a little bit different about this is that we've added also a can of chicken broth, just for a little additional flavor. And not to make things at all ordinary, later, after these sweet potatoes are completely cooked, we'll be finishing it off with some heavy cream, some Michigan dried cherries, some apples, and a little bit of green onion, just to give it an interesting autumnal kick. We'll let these cook, and we'll get the pressure building on that. And we'll move into the next section of the meal, which will be a very nice festive Thanksgiving type of relish. And that's one of the easiest and nicest things you can make for you and your family. A relish made of cranberries is one of the simplest things you can do, and there's really no reason why you shouldn't. You can buy it from the store in a can, but boy, it's just as nice and actually a lot nicer to use the fresh cranberries. I'm a fan of fresh cranberries, having grown up in a very cranberry thick area on Cape Cod. That's one of the biggest places that they harvest cranberries here in America. I think there's a couple of other places, strangely enough, out in Idaho, in Washington State perhaps, that grow cranberries as well. But what we'll do is, based on the recipe that you can find right here on the bag, is we'll use the mighty food processor. Boy, this is a, excuse me for a moment while I get this beast out. Oh man, this must weigh about 30 pounds. This is an old, tried and true veteran of food processing, and this is something that was given to me years ago by a good friend of the family, Peter Morris. And I'd like to say hi to Pete and Norma Morris. Boy, they've been friends of our family since I was born. And Pete was in the catering business and happened to have retired and left me this, among other things, the tools of his trade, this fine food processor. It isn't pretty, but boy, does it beat things up. We'll add to these cranberries an orange, just a simple orange. This happens to be I think it's a navel orange. It's seedless, which is nice. I don't have to worry about finding any seeds in the sauce. I'll just cut that up into a few pieces, drop them in there, and I have complete confidence in this food processor that it will have no problem grinding all this up. No? There we go. Just let that blend up until it gets nice and fine. That's pretty good. That'll do it. We've got the burner turned up just a bit here. And we're going to end up heating this concoction of one orange and one 8-ounce, I believe it's an 8-ounce bag of cranberries, along with 1 cup of sugar. That's the trick. You need some sugar, otherwise this is going to be mighty sour. If you didn't have sugar, it would be an altogether different kind of relish. I don't know what you'd call it, maybe a scare your friends away sauce or something, but it would be bitter. We don't want that. So we've got a cup of sugar, maybe a generous cup. I tested this out earlier. Complete success. You have no fears whatsoever making this. All you have to do is heat it up, try a medium heat, maybe even a medium low. Don't worry about it. Don't need to add any water. It's there's plenty of juice in there. And the sugar will actually melt and add the the juiciness that you would expect. We'll heat that through probably about 10 minutes. And that'll take care of business with the sauce. And boy, won't that make a nice addition to this meal. At this point, why don't we take a break and we'll announce that winner from the last month's drawing. And don't forget, you can find the entries at the store or here at CMN. Fill it out. And of course, your name, address, telephone number, along with the secret clue ingredient. That's the important part. And we'll be drawing that final entry winner in the first few days of December. And then, of course, the grand prize, which will be me cooking you a candlelit dinner for two in your home, will be drawn from all those entries that have been submitted. So why don't we take a break and mention that special winner from the second month right now.
Every day, hundreds of people are diagnosed with a leukemia-related illness. Until there's a cure, Children's Leukemia Foundation offers families free support, information, and financial assistance. Families with an adult or child who has leukemia, lymphoma,
nothing less than help save the world. Millions served in uniform, millions more served at home, and nearly 500,000 gave their lives. And yet there is no national memorial to honor their sacrifice. It is time to say thank you.
Call now and help build the National World War II Memorial.
All right, welcome back, and congratulations to that winner, the second winner in the Cooking for Candlelight Personal Chef Sweepstakes monthly drawing. Stay tuned, that secret ingredient for the third and final drawing will be coming up shortly. Right now, it's a good time for us to check our hens, which are cooking along very nicely here in the oven. This toaster oven has done an admirable job. It's not the biggest oven I've ever seen, but I'll tell you what, these hens are looking just beautiful. They are cooking very nicely, getting a nice brown surface to the top here. One thing you can do if your oven happens to be a toaster oven, or if it starts getting a little too toasty on top, throw a little sheet of aluminum foil on top. That's not a, I'm sure that's nothing you haven't heard before, but it looks like ours are coming along just fine. We're probably about 5 minutes away on those being finished. We've got our sweet potatoes, which seem to have cooked along well enough, and I think we'll end up blending those here in the next few seconds. One thing I want to remind you about is when you're cooking with a pressure cooker, be very careful. Do not make the mistake of removing it from your burner and opening it immediately. There are two things you need to do. One is you need to depressurize the pressure cooker. That is, allow the steam to come out, and that would be by taking a fork and lifting up on the centerpiece, or by running it under cold water. I don't have a sink here, so I'll have to do the prior. We'll just let all that steam come out. Might take a few seconds. Now, one thing to keep in mind is if you let the steam come out and you walk away from it for a moment or two, you're going to allow that hot, that liquid and the ingredients inside there, which is still very, very hot, you're going to allow it to build up pressure again, and it will not be safe to open unless you re-release the steam. So be careful about that. And like I said, running it under cold water is probably the better idea. It takes a little less time, and it will truly make things a lot safer. I had a story about my dad. I was telling the crew a little earlier that I guess he must have left the pot and let it get hot again, and when he came back and opened up the lid just flew off, and the ingredients ended up on the ceiling of our kitchen. And it wasn't a real popular dinner, obviously. So, and it relegated the pressure cooker to the back of the cabinet. Nobody wanted to go near it. It wasn't the pressure cooker's fault. It was my dad's fault. And I'm determined not to repeat that mistake. So things are sounding better here. There's also a little red valve here, and that needs to be down too. Once all the steam is gone, you'll know. And that gets a little hot there too. There we go, it's sounding better. Yes, in fact, you'll hear the seal on the lid release. Oh, safe. There we go. Well, what we will do is drain these sweet potatoes. I forgot to mention that earlier. Oh, and also, I meant to come clean on a couple of things that I missed earlier. When we made the miso mustard butter, I forgot to add one ingredient, which is important to the ingredient list of that preparation. That's 2 tablespoons of honey. If you remember way back when, we need to do that. And also the cinnamon stick. I forgot to mention that we add a cinnamon stick into the cranberry relish. So remember to do that. 1 cinnamon stick and the cranberry relish is complete. What I need to do is drain these potatoes. And in the meantime, I suppose while I'm doing that, we should take just a moment to speak with our wine expert, Dave Page from the Whole Foods Market, who has selected a very interesting Pinot Noir for this evening's dinner. And I'll let you tell us all about it, Dave.
Hello, Jay. We've got a great wine to go along with your festive dinner. We've got the Echelon Pinot Noir from the cooler regions of the Central Coast. You'll find that this wine will really meld well with the items that you have on your dinner, the Cornish hen, the sweet potatoes, and the cranberry sauce. One thing about this wine, it goes with many different items that you can serve it with. You can serve it with salmon, chicken, you can serve it with turkey, and many red meats. You'll find that this will also work for your Thanksgiving coming up. One thing about the wine, you do serve it at room temperature. I think this will be a great item to go along with the dinner that you've got planned.
Hey, thanks, Dave, for that tip. I'm glad that we've come to the conclusion of the program because, to tell you the truth, I feel like I've just cooked a Thanksgiving dinner. I am exhausted. However, it, for one person, isn't that bad. Probably took about 90 minutes, more or less, for this whole program to be shot, including a little time away from the cameras to let the hens cook up a little bit, and a little bit more time with the sweet potatoes, which we finished, again, in your absence, while we were taking finishing up the food while Dave was talking, to get myself squared away here. What we did with the sweet potatoes, if you can see that, we added some cream, probably about a cupful of, it was actually half and half. We added the Michigan dried cherries, probably about half cup of Michigan dried cherries. That's one of Michigan's greatest exports, they say, and they are delicious in this. We added about a 1/4 cup or half cup of chopped apple, skinned apple. And we added probably about a 1/4 cup of chopped green onions or scallions. And a little bit of salt, and we're on our way. Let's go ahead and plate this along with the rest of our meal, which, in my humble opinion, looks pretty darn good on this plate. It is something that can be elegantly served for you and your guest. We've got a nice tossed mixed green salad here with some olive oil and balsamic vinegar with cucumbers, tomatoes, our cranberry orange relish, and of course the roasted game hens. And let us finish this here by 1, popping the cork on this wonderful Pinot Noir, and 2, advising you of the final clue ingredient for the Cooking for Candlelight Personal Chef Sweepstakes, which is, for this evening and for this show, cranberry. So, if you take your entry blank and in the box provided, write in the word cranberry along with your name, address, telephone number, and the rest of the form. Bring it to either the Whole Foods Market in Troy or here at Community Media Network, and submit it before the end of November. You'll be eligible for a basket or a bag full of food ingredients used to prepare this meal here this evening. I really hope that you enjoy your Thanksgiving with your family, with your special guest, if it is that. And I hope that you're dining amidst wonderful candles with wonderful company, and that you truly enjoy the spirit of this holiday season. I'm Jay Wenko from Cooking for Candlelight. Good night.